is your name?
Magda
What
is
is
my
your
name.
name?
My name is Magda.
Your name is Mansa.
Magda.
Bansa.
Magda.
Mazda.
Magda. Magda.
Mark it down.
Magda.
Eh?
Magda. Magda. Magda.
Going to be joining very soon. Val Ozigbo is a seasoned politician, a former CEO of Transcorp, and of course, former governorship candidate of PDP in the last gubernatorial election in Anambra State. He's a philanthropist who has consistently advocated for transformative governance. Fresh from his resignation from the party, Labour Party, Ozigbo now seeks to contest for Anambra State's highest position to become the next governor of Anambra State. So today we engage him in a no-hold-barred discussion about his vision, his policies, and of course, whatever he has for Ndi Anambra. So it's going to be a very rich conversation, trust me. So if you are here, if you know someone who's supposed to be here that's not here, do let the person know. So as we look at Anambra State, look at what it is, we look at the preparedness and his policies and his idea to tackle the Anambra's complex challenges. So our reality is very stark. Our communities, we are losing many of communities in the hands of kidnappers and violence criminals. Our youth with potential and everything, unemployment and despair facing them, while others flee the states in search of safety and opportunity. The social contract between the government and citizens has collapsed. So amid all of this crisis, we all have strong hope that one day we'll get it right. In Ndi Anambra, we are known for resilience. We are known for strong-willed, unyielding spirit. So today's conversation is about rekindling that hope. And we are looking at Val Ozigbo, asking him important question. How do you plan to steer us towards this new dispensation? Because if you look at Anambra as it stands, let's start, for example, number one, very critical situation we are into, the security, restoring security and its trust. For context, Anambra State security crisis right now has totally crippled the economic activities and displaced many families, criminal networks and separatists everywhere, with reports of unchecked balance every single day. There is no single day you wake up, you will not hear a case of kidnapping. So the question is, what specific strategies are you coming in? Because this is a very, very hot topic everywhere in the country, security. And we are looking at it very, very passionately because we need to get it right. So I have done the introduction because you don't really need much introduction. So let's go straight to the question. Anambra security crisis has crippled the economy. It has made a lot of people leave the states. And currently, people are living in fear. They do not sleep with their two eyes open. So the question is, what are the specific strategies are you bringing to dismantle these criminal networks? How do you collaborate with the communities and restore law enforcement's credibility? How will you address the root cause of these problems? Because when we look at this problem, we look at it from the surface level, the causatives. How are you going to tackle the root causes, such as unemployment, the negligence, the marginalization that fuel this unrest? Mr. Val Ozigbo, you may take up the mic to speak to us now.
Yeah, thank you so much, person. And it's my pleasure engaging every single person on this space. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I hope I'm audible enough.
Very audible.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to say two things before I come to your question. First is there's a trending news everywhere. So I can't come on a space when I am on the and I'm the subject matter in a lot of conversation going on an issue. So I need to first of all clear that quickly, and then secondly, I will talk about the importance of who before what, before not deal with the what. So the first thing is today, this afternoon, a few hours ago, I I was in a meeting with the state executives of Labour Party in Anambra State. We had a meeting at Oka, and there I took time to address them on many issues we've been dealing with on the party platform, both at the national and the state level, and express my gratitude where I needed to, and my disappointment where we have failed to do the right things. And the consequence of all of this is that we have weakened that platform and rendered it almost impotent and unattractive. And unfortunately, there's no end in sight as to the issues. While I thank all the leaders and what they've done, I'm not sure we've done good enough. Otherwise, we could have turned the tide. So today, this very day, I resigned from my membership of Labour Party. I haven't announced where I'm going to, and hopefully by tomorrow, I will have further engagements in that regard. So, in case you're wondering if it's true, yes, I have resigned. And before doing this, before writing to my work chairman, I also have reached out to our national leader, Mr. P. and the national chairman, um, Barrister Julius Abure. So this is where we are on that. So if there's any need for me to clarify on this further, I will do so. I have taken this decision, in my opinion, in the best interest of Ndi Anambra. Now let's now get close to your question. Um, if I get on a space or engage the public and I start talking about what I'm going to do about insecurity, um, I kind of think it diminishes the importance of what is needed to actually deal and curb this insecurity. If you have a wrong person and you're trying to do the right thing, you end up with a product that is wrong. And you also have the right person doing the wrong thing, similar. So what you need is right person doing the right thing. It's not everybody that can deal with insecurity. If you're a criminal yourself, you can't curb criminality. If you're crude, if you're wicked, if you're not empathetic, forget it. Life has to matter to you before you can start talking about what you're going to do about insecurity. Mother, when somebody is dead, it should matter to you that, wow, this life, we've lost this life. But if you see human beings as another piece of animal, um, and the person goes somewhere, rehashes the best, to cope. That is the point I'm making here. Um, we always need to emphasize on getting the right leaders, getting the people who are emotionally intelligent, who are compassionate, who really, really, genuinely mean well. And the moment you jump into manifesto, agenda, vision, and all of those stuff without talking about the who, you get it wrong because you simply level everybody. So if three persons are here and we start come, you might even see the wrong person giving you the best things on what to do. But guess what? When it gets there, is it going to do it? It's not going to do it. And that's why when we were in the last campaign, Big Brother then, I call him that because he's way older than me, will tell everybody about Africa, Dubai, Taiwan. And some people actually jumped into the fray. Today we are begging for not even Dubai, not anything near that. Just give us Asaba or Aba. So please, I'm talking to Ndi Anambra here particularly to say to you all, I beg you, it is far more important to find the right person first before we're not going to what's he going to do. In fact, sometimes, even if that person doesn't know everything that's needed to be done, but is a good listener, and he means well, you'll find that he'll pick up, you know, the lessons, listen to people, the right persons, take the right judgment call, and would navigate through to solving that problem at hand. Now let's go to this issue of insecurity. It's our biggest dilemma, biggest problem today in Anambra State. It's really unfortunate. And I've done a lot of things in this regard. I've done videos, at least 3. I've gone on TV. I've written on my social media handle. I have taken firm position on this, on almost every aspect. And I've even gone to eulogize, the initiative that is going to cut across the entire Southeast. So I feel that there are various aspects to this. It's always good to separate, accidental criminals who are in this because the leaders have failed. They have failed to provide hope. They wake up, they don't know what else to do, and they just jump into. In that regard, we've got to also um, basically rev up the economy, make our place more competitive as much as possible. Of course, curbing insecurity is part of it. And that raises the momentum for the private sector to create jobs. And when people think that there is hope for them, a lot won't jump into criminality. But there are also people who you know that even when things are going well, they are criminals from birth, and and particularly because guns have gone into wrong hands. And some of these, by the way, are people that politicians will use for the nefarious ends. And by the time they get to where they want to go to, they wouldn't know how to disarm those people. Guns are entered wrong people. And the same happening even those who are agitating. There are actually genuine agitators who wouldn't want to waste blood, but also criminals who hide under the arm of agitation. And guns have entered their wrong hand. And once you're inside the bush, what do you expect? They cannot be there for any good reason. But irrespective of whatever has taken you into criminality, irrespective of whether you are from Anambra or from outside next door neighbor, or even from any part of Nigeria, we have to make Anambra uncomfortable for criminality. And the way to do that is to hold people accountable, encourage the right persons, design the right architecture, show political will, and lead from front, devote sufficient budget, and demand performance accountability. This is what some of our neighboring states have done, and that's why they are better than us. Whether it's Enugu or Abia, for instance, and even recently, what is happening is unfortunate. I met with one of the governors, and he shared his own story. He told me how, basically, he was able to assemble a team of professionals in the security force, and he trained them well. He actually, explained the details of the training that they went through, and armed them well, equipped them well, trained them well, and now demanding accountability. So whenever these criminals would strike, they will unravel the case and get to the end of it. The first one, they got everybody involved, including their kingpin in Lagos, got arrested. In the second case, it happened. What do you think is going to happen? They start running away from that particular state. And what are they going to do? They look for the weakest state. And that's why almost all the bushes in Anambra have become camps. Every part of Anambra, none is safe. Not in the Anambra South, not in Central, and not in North. So, in fact, more and more, just more recently, we are actually seeing some movement, some motion without movement. That's what I call it. Governor Soludo waited for first year, second year, third year. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't even deploy resources. I've been asking, what was he doing with the insecurity votes? Because I've discovered everybody. I've gone to the army, I've gone to DSS, I've gone to police, I've gone to civil defense, I've gone to the hunters, and even the vigilantes. They are not being catered for. No vehicle, no tool for 3 good years. The governor in Edo, it didn't take him up to 100 days. Look at what he did. Why did our governor wait for 3 years until the election year to start waking up? And then doing things in such a crude and cruel manner. Let me narrate a story, what happened to me on Saturday. Not to me, to my staff. We went to Onitsha to attend the funeral of the honorable member that was, murdered, who for many weeks they couldn't even trace until some of the people who came from outside. And there's even a very nefarious story we're hearing. That is, some of the people that were arrested for this, 2 of them have escaped. But that's not the story for now. While we're in church, the governor was in church also there. While in church, my team decided to take one of the vehicles, a bus, to go to Mbuka Obosi to get a spare part because there's a vehicle that they needed to fix. Upon getting to Mbuka Obosi, a group of boys, the ones they call Agune Chamber, whatever their names are, besieged these boys. 3 of them. One of them was wearing my T-shirt with my face boldly there, the logo of the party, and my initial, VCO. And then the other 2, responsibly dressed. They besieged them. And this bus looks like the bus that was used for an operation the day before. Before you know it, they started beating them up. Before you know it, they started demanding for tire and fuel to burn them alive. They started lamenting, if you kill us, our blood is on your head. I'm telling you what happened to me, to my staff, just a few days ago. When luckily, 2 of the people there said, these people actually sounding innocent because one of them was not begging, take us to police station so you can, this is who we are. We are staff of Valentine Ozigbo, the former governorship candidate. Went on and on. Eventually, they yielded to pressure to take them to the police station. On getting to the Awada police station, by then, my CSO had been alerted. Some of my security men now went to the station. Even when they got there, they introduced themselves, they refused to release them because since there is an allegation that they must investigate, okay, no problem. Before you know it, they drove them away. Before my driver could come out, they couldn't. They said they were taking them to SARS in Okozu. By this time, I followed one of our leaders to another location in Enugu. I didn't know about any of this. When they now eventually got across to me, because I was in a meeting talking, so I wasn't looking at my phone. By the time I knew, I took my calls and they narrated what was going on. I asked, I said, where are they being taken to? They said SARS. So I left everything I was doing and I headed to SARS in Okozo. I got there, I met with the OC, and they said nobody was brought here. And started asking, so where did they take them to? Making phone calls everywhere. At this time, I started escalating to call senior police officers. What is going on? Before they go and waste them somewhere. Finally, they brought them to CID in Oka. So I went to CID, and the people who made the allegation were nowhere to be found, but the boys were there. I waited for like an hour. I had to now move on to, since I know they're safe here, and introduce myself to the Assistant Commissioner of Police there. And eventually, before those people finally showed up, and around 6:37 p.m., they were released. This is just to tell you how crude that the insecurity is being curbed, so-called in Anambra. Bottom line here is that there are a lot of things we can do. If you want to really deal with this issue, you need to actually be very smart about this. You need to deploy technology about this. If it's possible, you can actually deploy drones about this. You need to monitor what is going on, and you need to equip the team. You need to empower them. You need to have people like synergy, so that the people at the local will work with the security agencies in a manner that will be mutually um, respected. You know, what Peter B did involved a lot of the stakeholders. He involved the town union, he involved the Igwes, he involved the people that ought to have been involved in. And he put them in the payroll, bought vehicles for almost for every community and everywhere. And he was able to take certain measures that showed sense of seriousness. He made Anambra uncomfortable for criminals. And they left and they disappeared. And that's exactly what we need to do. And this is in the immediate. Before we now go beyond this, what do we do in the long run? And this is where we must have governors across the Southeast talking to themselves. We need to show leadership. We need to build common architecture that will enable us. You know, you can't chase criminals from Anambra, they run to Imo. You chase them in Imo, they run back to Anambra. You need to chase them both sides so that they will know where to run. If they want to run beyond Anambra, let them and Imo and South, and then but you will do that. So there is something that a group of stakeholders put together that I'm very impressed in, because in that solution they addressed both the technical side of it, the legislative side of it, and the funding side of it. What can be done so that the 5 eastern states can talk to themselves, can work together collaboratively to solve and tackle this insecurity issue commonly. And I shared it on my Twitter handle recently, about 2 weeks ago, and it actually gives you a ready-made solution, including templates for the State House of Assemblies to pass the enabling laws. If the State House of Assembly in all the 5 states will pass this law and the funds are deployed and there's a proper team that will be monitored, not doing it the politician way, where they see conduits for stealing money. If you do it properly, I tell you, we need to, that's when we're going to be comfortable. But the starting point is this: who and who are driving this? There better be those who are approaching equity with clean hands. Thank you. There's a lot to say here, but I want to, I've been talking for long, so let me
Yeah,
pause
so
here.
of course, there are a lot to unpack, especially, I asked you just one specific area and you have a lot to say, because that is a very important area we are battling with right now in Anambra State. Everyone can agree with that. But I will take this mic round so that we can have more people. We have a lot of speakers, we have a lot of people requesting. But if you cannot come up here, please kindly send your message using the hashtag Ask Ozigbo. And also, if you are here, if you are just joining us, kindly share this space across your timeline so we can have more people join us and be able to ask questions and engage on this very important conversation. So let's go straight to the first person that's joined us, Nehemiah. Please, if you have a question, make it very snappy. 2 questions max. Go straight to the points. No praises, no long notes, please, so that we can have more people. Nehemiah, go ahead and make your contribution or ask your questions.
Yeah, good evening, Uche. Good evening, everybody. Mr. Ozigbo, good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother.
We are, yeah, we are happy to have you here. Come speak with us, and we want to really know your plans and everything you have for us in Anambra State. Now, the is a very, very straightforward question. Honestly, I must pour out my heart. I have not been really happy with the way you have moved around concerning the issue of Anambra State's number 1 seat, and I can understand everything that has been happening in the Labour Party, and we understand your move. And another one question we want to ask you is this: there is a rapport around the timeline today, and everybody coming out to say Val is moving to APC, that it is sealed and done. It is sealed and done. And the truth is, some of us, there's this disdain that some of us have for that political party called APC. I just want you to say it to our ears tonight, and let us know: is it true that you are heading to APC? Thank you, sir.
All right. It's not a question I would have liked to answer today until I come out clearly to state where I'm moving to. But there's something I need to make clear here. First is, I think a number of elections this year. Before I even react to this, you said you know everything that's been happening in Labour Party. You must be really a god to know everything that's going on in Labour Party, because even me, I don't know. If I have been intrigued by a lot of things going on there. Some of them you think you know, but when you look deeper, it gets very confusing. And I'm one of those who believe in values. And unfortunately, I used to think that Labour was going to be a better platform. But over time, I started asking myself, between Labour, PDP, APC, which is even better? If you have an idea what's been going on, you understand why that question is important. But let's shift a bit from this. The reality is that Anambra election is not going to be it's not going to be so much about party for 2 reasons. Um, Elections are now shifting. After all, there is absolutely no party with ideology. There's no party. You can hardly even figure out which is better. Some will even claim that um, some of them have become appendages of the other. And when you look at their processes, internal processes, they are so flawed sometimes that um, you might as well just. I wish we're able to drive elections through independent candidacy. I wish we're able to pass that law where you don't need a political party to run for an election. I'm one of those that will not have anything to do with any party, particularly the ones I see around. But unfortunately, you must adopt a party. So election will be driven more by who the candidates are. And that's what I'm seeing already. If you carry out polls, you find that if you put names of individuals, um, maybe Valentine, Solo, any other person, You have an idea how people react. By the time you put names of parties, you also see how they react. You find that indeed, even though individuals are tied to parties, people are more interested in who they want to be their next governor than what party is driving through. That's the first thing. Secondly, is that we are going to battle an incumbent governor. Yes, he's very unpopular. He hasn't done well. It's not just about insecurity. People think it's just insecurity. There are many other aspects. He's extremely arrogant and he doesn't listen to anybody. Somebody's line has to be muted. So, and so majority of the opinion that I hear, that most people hear, is that this governor does not deserve a second term. But how do you remove an incumbent governor? My simple solution is this. We've got to come together. If you just decide it's not just one party, you've lost it. Once there are multiple serious contenders from different platforms, we're going to weaken ourselves and the governor will come back. And actually, that's his plot. We know already, that's his plan. And so what does he do? He starts to sponsor people in some parties. We're fully aware of this plan. We know what he did in 2021, and we know what he's planning to do here. Some of it, because again, I'm not God, so I'm not going to be privy to all the heinous and sinister plot they have. So here is what I'm saying. You need the ability to bring people and parties together. The beauty of what we're doing now is that Valentine Ozigbo, was the candidate of PDP in 2021 election. And so I still do have a lot of my loyalists in PDP. People see me as the most visible aspirant. In fact, people regard me as a candidate of Labour Party as of today, even though we haven't done primary. So I have my loyalists in Labour Party. If you look at what was happening in Abga between Soludo's camp and Edozie Njoku, all of those wounded lions in Abga would rather support somebody like me than any other person. So I have some loyalists coming from Abga. If you touch on APC, when Senator Ifeanyi was alive and running, he had a formidable team there. But after his demise, their simple philosophy is that their principal never wanted Soludo back. So what do? They look around and say, the only person they feel that has capacity to unseat Soludo is Valentine. So we're going to go and support him. So already I started building loyalists, even in APC camp. So what I want to become, by God's grace, is that candidate that will have the backing of almost all the parties. And therefore, it's no longer going to be, Val, which party are you running? Is the APC? Is the PDP? Is the Labour? No. Today, when I addressed them in Labour Party, I told them clearly, yes, I may not run on that Labour Party. I will not run on that Labour Party. But does not mean a Labour Party and my loyalists there will not support me in the other party that I may choose. So I have, by the grace of God, built the momentum that is required to win this election. A lot of people are saying to you, how do you ensure, knowing what this man is plotting, knowing how much money they are amassing for this election, how do you manage this fear that he wants to rig this election? Which platform can help to all of those conversations are going on? And that's why you cannot take away any platform out of the option. And what I've been doing is consult and engage. And honestly, I have to thank Almighty God sincerely because I have become the beautiful bride. There's hardly any day, 3, 4, 5 national chairmen of different parties won't call me and say, please come and take our platform and run with it. So it's no longer about, let's just jump into a platform. We are looking at how do we form the right synergy. And at the appropriate time, I'll make that decision known. So my brother, you have to make a determination. Do you want Soludo to continue with this impunity? Or do you want Valentine Ozigbo to come and lighten up Anambra and show true leadership? Because that's what I intend to do. And if you don't agree with that, it matters less which party I'm going to use because I'm going to build a synergy anyway of all the parties involved. Thank you.
All right. So we have gotten that response, and I hope the person that asked that question uh, also got that as well. So let's go to Jack. Jack, if you can hear me, kindly ask your questions or make your contribution. Please make it very snappy.
Okay, Uche, thank you. Mr. Val, good evening to you. It's good
Salute to you.
to have you on the platform to have this conversation. Okay, so mine will I will first off let me commend you for your very bold decision today. I mean, for some of us we saw it coming anyways. But I think that was a very bold decision you made today, and I'm hoping to see you make even a bolder decision in the choice of party you're going to join. I'll be rest assured that you'll get the support you need from young people that will definitely look at character of individual ahead of every other thing. But let me leave politics for politicians like you, sir, to deal with it. I'm actually more concerned about governance in Anambra. As when Anambra, there's so much talks about insecurity. Every other time when elections issues, conversations around election in Anambra comes up, the only thing you will hear is insecurity. I don't usually agree that we should actually leave, because I look at least other states in Southeast, right? And I see what they are doing. I'm shocked at the level of kind of conversations we are having in Anambra in particular at the moment, which has nothing whatsoever to do with development at the moment. Anambra, in my own opinion, is actually retrogressing, and this is even beyond the insecurity talk. So I want to ask you very sincerely, sir, top 5 things in your head, at the top of your head right now, that you would call priorities away from insecurity as regards to opening up Anambra for investment, and of course, people to be able to come and live. So I'm interested in that conversation. What are the top 5 things off the top of your head that would be your priority if you become the governor of Anambra State today? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I usually don't jump into, first and foremost, Jack, let me beg you, don't leave politics for politicians. Because when you do that, then this second question you've asked, or this question you've asked, becomes mute and redundant. Because we are retrogressing because good people have left politics for politicians. And this is for us. Now have to come in and take charge. We have to show courage. We have to now make sure politics is actually done properly. That is starting point. Forget top five. What top five? If a criminal is in power, what are you doing with top five? How do we get right people in power? The Bible says, Proverbs 29:2. It is only when good people are in power that the people will rejoice. And so, let me tell you the irony of life. I find that wicked people are more strategic. They meet, they convene, they plan, they execute, and they're more proactive. And good men are busy being good, good for nothing. They don't come together. How many meetings have you seen? In fact, sometimes they begin to show even this selfishness that are good turns evil. Evil thrives. It's no longer when good men do nothing, when they also don't do enough. I am saying this because a lot of atrocities that happen in Nigeria that people get away with is because of the docility of the citizens. Half of what happens here cannot happen in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Tunisia, in Egypt. No, it won't happen. We try to show some signs of what can be done with 2023 election, but it wasn't enough. I think we need to go an extra mile in showing courage. I think we honestly, sincerely need to be more emboldened and more selfless. There's need for us to interrogate this statement you made first. We cannot leave politics to those who have plundered our future. We want good people to now wake up and say, you know what? This is my state we're talking about. Enough of this nonsense. And that is why I'm interested in building a movement of young people. And I'm going to launch in one on Saturday. How do we come together to be able to say enough is enough? I want us to go the extra mile. Call it NSAS 3.0. Not violence. Very particularly when it comes to protecting democracy. It is only when people have ability to put their own choice in power that those people they put in power can be held accountable by the people. So let's not go into the issue of top five, which is like a jam question. See, when I visit foreign countries and I see how they've evolved, how they've developed, you find that it's not really about dealing with the symptoms that are actually the issues. I am, as a human being, as a person, particularly more interested in how do we ensure that wrong people don't come into power. Because I can come into Anambra leadership and actually do those top five things I can easily mention them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now. But after I'm gone, a lunatic comes over, takes over, and destroys everything I've done. In China, they were able to, develop a system that has made it impossible, even as flawed as their own system may appear to some people. But they've created a system that has made it impossible for wrong people to ascend to power. What do we need to do? How do we push, if possible, electronic voting? Or however, we need to make sure that people are held accountable. And we can go into other debates about restructuring, whether we're even going to eliminate one arm of the legislature. There's a lot of things we can do to cut a lot of waste and make it more competitive. If you're now going to another point, which is about rule of law, rule of law is actually about consequence management. People must be held accountable for their actions. And so I want to, more interestingly, actually lead by example. I want where I office. Imagine that I lay the priorities, I engage people, I listen to them, and every month I publish how much has come into government coffers and what we're doing with it. The way we run PLCs, every quarter I go on investor call. I ask the shareholders, this is what I've done with your money. This is how much return I've made. And this is what we're planning to do the next coming week or quarter. Do you have any questions? If you run with that mindset, with that governance principle, you would challenge every other governor in Nigeria. They'll suddenly wake up. They won't like you because their own people start demanding for similar things to happen. And another thing that's important to me is what I call a culture of continuous improvement. How do we cut waste in a systematic manner? How do we also deploy tools to make sure that we challenge status quo? If you notice, all I'm mentioning here are the intangibles. I haven't mentioned road, insecurity, education, healthcare. These things are symptoms. If you don't deal with these issues at a basic level, forget those ones. You can get something done by accident. Now, what have I put together as my own way to lead Anambra State. I said, to deal with issues, I have articulated three governance frameworks to be able to drive Anambra to where we want it to be. Anambra where Chawapo. First is what I call sector approach. And that's where your question was coming from. What sectors are important? I didn't just sit at home and decide which sectors are important. I had visited all the 21 local governments up to 9 times, 10 times. And when I go, I listen to the people. What do you want from your next governor? And that's how you begin to find out that what the urban want may not be what the locals want in the rural communities. What the women want may be slightly different from what the men want. What the elders want may be what a younger demographic would want. What the students want may be different from what traders want. And you need to understand these nuances if you want to govern a Republican state like Anambra. And you have to first of all be the right person. I keep saying this. If you're not humble, you cannot lead Anambra. That's the starting point. And so, which sectors are important? You will know that, of course, security is by far the number one today. Deal with issues. When I visited a lot of countries in the diaspora, they would beg me, I beg, but when you enter there, don't even give us anything else. Don't do road, don't do water. Just make my town safe. I want to be able to come and move freely. There's a gentleman I flew in today with. He lives in Lagos, just Lagos. But he said he has not visited North here for a long time. We flew in today, and he was, his wife has given him all the please, just dress down, hide yourself. Once you finish, just run away. Don't do. That's the kind of life we live today in Anambra State. It is horrible. So that's by far number one. Infrastructure is another. And infrastructure is not just about roads. Let's look at roads as just the basic. Well, what can we do at the state level, at the regional level? And that's why I'm happy with what has been done about the Southeast Development Commission. Imagine we have such a small landmass that we can actually use train to run around the Southeast and develop a port system where we can clear our goods closer home and then develop the power infrastructure and add the roads. If you do these things, if Anambra people will bring their money in tons and keep here safe, you will see magic happen. And how do we lead this charge? Even if you can't finish it up within your tenure, start it and then plan a proper succession planning so that the person that's going to come, you don't need to impose somebody to the Anambra, but by the time you lay basic right processes, the society will throw up the best. And when you do that, you have somebody that can continue with trajectory. And we can touch on other important areas that particularly affect the youth of the Anambra, particularly technology. How do you deal with that? Of course, you cannot hide, you cannot de-emphasize the importance of human capital development. Education, cutting off. My phones are ringing off the hooks. I'm cutting off all the calls so I can continue with this. So there is that's just the sector approach. And in each of these sectors, we will put together, we've done this already. This is where we are. This is the current situation. This is where we envisage it to be. And these are the things we need to do to get there. And when we get there, this is the end product in terms of impact. This is how many jobs we intend to see. And so, if we do this right, a number of people will be proud of the state. The second approach is the cluster approach. We must emphasize some important clusters without ignoring the rural areas. Onitsha is such an important cluster that it must be emphasized. After all, that's where most of the money is coming from. So you have to devote enough time and attention to a place like Onitsha, not just Onitsha as a town, that axis, including Obaru area. How do you make sure those areas become what we call a center of excellence in commerce? How do we restore law and order there. Let them elect their own leaders. Don't impose people because you want to steal some money through some, you know, backyard. How do we ensure we even develop systems that work, not just some intervention systems, water system, port system, power system, bandwidth technology system? If you develop in those places, I would love to enter a house in Onitsha and open my tap and water is running. Can it not be done? Why not? And I bring come to the third approach. But if you set up a proper team for each of the clusters and charge them, this is what I expect to see. Every month you're sitting like a board meeting to what have you achieved? And then you're bringing the center, you're drawing strength from the center. Because there are things you can't do alone as a state, that you can do regionally. There are things you can do as a region, you can do with the influence and power. Some people even have these connections with the center. They don't know how to use the connections because they have some other agenda they're pursuing. And apart from Onitsha, Nnewi is another important cluster for industrial hub. Oka is an important cluster as our state capital, and there you can develop our educational and healthcare institutions. Omambala is an important cluster for agricultural processing, and you can develop the tech hub somewhere else. So if you do these things and emphasize these clusters, when you hear LSOT is doing well, LSOT emphasizes on certain important cluster, like Aba. And when you do these things well, you're not just affecting the life of like Onisha people alone. Every single person, town in Anambra State, they are represented in Onisha. Almost every community in Southeast are represented in Onisha. So when you get Onisha right, you're getting the rest of the area right. Then the last approach is what we call partnership approach. Just imagine that I say to Ndi Anambra, and we're going to be methodical about this. And we're focusing on just four areas for this partnership: road, security, education, and healthcare. Just these four. Identify how you want to partner with the Anambra. We want Anambra money to work for Anambra. We can't claim to have the highest number of billionaires, and there's no impact. We can't be having people celebrating how many Rolls Royce they have in their garage and what the type of 30 years Glenfiddich are drinking. Let's celebrate them by the impact that they're making in their communities. And so we're going to be very methodical. If I come to your town and you build 1 kilometer road according to the design and spec that the government wishes, we will come to that your town and match it to an equivalent either 1 or more kilometer of roads. And we will announce it to the world. We are doing this because of this person who has deployed his own personal resources to do this. And so that we want to do it in a place like Ogidi, so that people get those from Ojoto will say no, and those from Onisha, those from Oka will say no. Let them now start competing for what is good. And guess what I'm going to do? I will bring them all these partners. I'll bring them maybe December period. We'll celebrate them. If I find a great leader around the world that I'm close to, I will invite him to come and give them medal and appreciate them. And the world will celebrate them. If I have to put them on CNN, I will do so, such that it becomes the envy of others. By the time we do this in roads, get people to adopt schools, adopt healthcare institutions, and do also that and for security, and we all partner together, there are going to be many people next year jumping to the fray saying, wow, this is the kind of thing, that type of leadership we want to bring. Genuine, sympathetic, empathetic leadership that really caters for the need of people. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So let's go straight to Wayemi. Wayemi, do you have any contribution or question to make?
I would rather go through the comment section and pick some questions, if that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Just read like three so we can proceed.
Let me go through because some of them are not necessarily questions but statements, but I will take a few. So this one is from Ada Idemili. She says, please, my question, if Val wins, will he continue the projects Oludu has started? Then we have another question that says, at Valentine Ozigbo, you spoke about the crudeness and cruelty of the measures Governor Soludo employed to curb insecurity. How do you think, sir, that he should have addressed it? Um, then the last one is, okay, let me just take
Okay.
a bit of a.
Okay. Let
So
me.
this one says, Anambra people witness unprecedented development under Valentine Ozigbo. Let's give him our support and be proud of our state for once. Okay, so that's it.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
So
Let me
before we
just take
take
the
that,
first one about.
all right, go ahead.
Okay. You want to say? Go ahead
I
and say
actually
what you want
wanted
to
to
say.
bring more person, but go ahead and respond to that, the questions.
So when the first comment is on. Okay, the second one is about the crudeness. Okay, what's the first one
The
again
first
now?
one was if you are going to complete the project started by the.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a very simple but loaded question, but I will answer it very simply. Um, Governance should not be about us, but about the people. Why people will go and abandon projects of their predecessor is because they are prioritizing themselves over the people. There's no sane governor who understands his onion would not want to continue for a job that's already almost done. Why would somebody, if sometimes, if if somebody is building a road, because I've seen this happen, um, a governor comes, does the gutter, does some of the base soil, and another governor comes and is focusing on another road instead of just asphalt it and then take glory. And so it doesn't make sense to me. So the direct answer is I'm going to obviously continue the projects. However, there's also what we call, I'm a chartered accountant. There are projects that guess what? The more money you put there, because I do what I call value for money analysis. If I put this amount of money in this project, is it worth the money or worth abandoning? Because there are some projects that becomes clear that it was a stupid project from day one. I pray there's none of such. But if you do your value for money audit and you figure out that this project will cost you 2 billion naira, but guess what? Even though 3 billion has already been sunk, you can even do a better job. And I can find a genuine, creative way of continuing that project without necessarily putting government money in it. I hear somebody talk about building hotel, five-star hotel in Anambra. It's ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. I'm a hotelier, that's my field. And why can't he create a partnership or enabling environment for a private sector to do the same hotel? I actually could have built an airport in Anambra without Anambra money. Why don't I attract people? Guess what? When Anambra Airport was even conceived, some Chinese were meant to put money in it and build it under certain terms and conditions that must be properly negotiated, not also the one that will end up giving a birthright to foreign countries because we're stupid and silly or greedy. So I'm saying to you that you are talking to a CEO that has led corporations who understands the value of money. I am a financier, a banker, an accountant combined. So I know what to do with money. I know how to deploy it judiciously and achieve the end. And also bring the governance required. Where the state must put money, state will put money. So I can get a five-star hotel built. I can even put 10% equity in it, 20% to encourage the private sector and say, come and run it. We all know how government runs businesses. Most times, if you build a hotel, you're still going to be the ones funding them, paying salaries, because government really doesn't run. And well, priorities are important. How can I have insecurity and I'm building a hotel? That's ridiculous. Get the place safe and sound and allow Ndi Anambra to build all the hotels you want in this world. If you want a particular brand or quality, you define it clearly. You go to the right persons. I can phone call. I can get Hilton, Marriott, and Co. into Anambra because they were my partners. And when we do that, and we will take our limited resources to areas of importance. I would rather build more healthcare institutions, world-class institutions, than build a hotel. It doesn't mean that a hotel is not important. Get it done. Just use wisdom and creativity. So I would obviously like to continue, provided those projects make sense. Thank you. Okay, I think that's the second question. Let me now react to it, which is about the crudeness. Obviously, I mean, you really have to be wicked to be crude. I mean, or allow crudeness to happen in your country. I want a civilized society. You can't be chasing IGR and you're using Akodo to break people's legs. What happened to arresting them? What happened to prosecuting them? What happened to, taking them to court? Why would you just like I narrated how they almost burnt my three staff alive? How do you give guns to people who are not trained? My sister, please pray you're not a victim because you won't ask me that question next time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. So we go to Angel Gabriel. Please, can you make it very brief so we can have more speakers come on board? Thank you.
Usha, my brother, thank you.
In here, we are quite a lot on this space. So I would appreciate it if all questions are asked under 30 seconds to a minute max. So that way we can take more people. And as soon as you're done speaking, I will have to drop you to the listener section to get more speakers. Is that fine? Good. All right, Gabriel, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Val Ozigbo. My question is, during the time of Anambra State local government law passed by the current governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, I discovered that most of our elites, stakeholders in Anambra State, did not make a single comment over that law. Today, every local government in Anambra State receives up to 300 to 400 million, and this money goes back to the state government. I was speaking to one mayor, that local government chairman, 3 days ago. He told me that they don't receive up to 40 million from the state government after remitting 3 to 400 million back to them. They will just be giving money to pay salary and nothing more. No projects from the local government. When the Supreme Court passed the autonomy bill for local government, what are you going to do differently on that day? Are you going to continue with that law that says the local government should remit money back to the state every month, or are you going to abolish that law?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we go to the next person, Olisa Eloka. Kindly ask your question immediately. Olisa Eloka, if you are here, ask your question. Okay, let's go to Justice Edward. Edward, please kindly ask your question immediately.
Yeah, good afternoon. Okay, thank you. Mr. Ozigbo, straight to the question. I've listened to you a couple of minutes now. What is your relationship currently with ex-Governor Peter Obi? Did he give you his blessings when you called to inform him that you're leaving Labour Party? Do you have any concern about his leadership qualities? Do you have things in mind that he should have done better to avoid some of the issues that the Labour Party is facing today? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Justice Edward. We have one other speak. Okay, Good Governance Ministry. Please ask your question so we can go over to Val.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And good evening to you, Mr. Val. Ma is recognizing the issue we have with the present governor, Soludo. The major issue he has is superiority complex. That is believing that he knows everything. And, humility is everything, and showing empathy is one. I want to ask you, would you give opportunity to the best of Anambra State to come around you and provide solution? One. Secondly, what is your opinion on government running a business? Because I know that so many elites believe that the government doesn't have any business to do with running business. Thank you.
All right. So let's go to Mike. Please, let's have Mike. Mike Chukuma, just ask your question so we can take. I'm taking down the questions, so make it very brief. Thank you.
Yeah, Your Excellency, my question is very simple. I haven't lived in an organized society. Let me put it this way. On insecurity, you've talked so much on that, but I just want to ask a very touching question in relation to what he just narrated about your aides in this coming election. I have no doubt that wherever you go will not be a mistake. After all, a popular figure in Nigeria always said something like, if you enter a vehicle going to Lagos, it breaks down at any point. You have to get down and get into another bus vehicle and get to Lagos. So, believing on that, what are you going to do differently to make sure that such scenario does not play out in this coming election, which is where the hope lies and the future also lies? This coming election is where the hope of Anambra lies. So what are you going to do differently about that to be sure that such thing does not play out during the election proper? Thank you.
All right. So we go over to Val Ozigbo to respond to all the questions. Hello, Val. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right.
Thank
Do
you. Thank
you
you very
have all the
much.
questions?
Um,
Yeah.
yes, I think so. I tried to take them down. The first one is from Gabriel on the local government law. Yes, it's actually funny what happened during that period. Not just the law, not just even the election itself, and Soludo becoming lawless by challenging what the Supreme Court has put out there, and which is still being litigated upon. And so I obviously spoke about this. I spoke out in disagreement with everything he was doing during that period. But this was when I started noticing the issues we were facing in Labour Party, and it was really disheartening. It was really terrible that, like what I put it, you go into a bush to hunt with some friends, and then suddenly turn to you and say, "Oh, your leg is actually looking like that of the animal." So before you know it, so some of our people were actually the ones even encouraging Soludo or saying that we shouldn't participate in the election or saying all kinds of nonsense. Some may have good intentions in saying what they're saying. There was never a synergy. We couldn't sit together and take a position. And I kept pushing for this to happen. But because of some other sinister move they had in mind, um, if I would convocate such a meeting, it would appear that, oh, I've been coronated. So, no, no, no. So my voice should not be heard, should be diminished. And enough of the past. What I'm saying to you is that I'm totally against it. And so when I get into office, I am a believer in the fact that if we want to take care of state, local government must be allowed to function but and allow them, in fact, get them, get the people in the locality to hold their chairman and other leaders accountable. Let them, you can actually mentor these leaderships and make sure when there are elections that the processes are proper to throw up the right people. If you allow the people to genuinely elect their leaders in a free and fair and transparent manner, and not it must be from my party, it must be my loyalist, it must not be if you bring all those division, which is what Sudan has done across Anambra State, down to even PG elections. It had destroyed many homes. It were the same thing. If you're sensed to be on the other side, you are marked for destruction. And this type of approach is hurting us. We need to get our locals working from PGs, from town unions to the local governments, and we must allow the autonomy that the Constitution and the Supreme Court now has granted them. On Edward, you talked about my relationship with His Excellency Peter Obi. I am honestly full of respect and admiration for His Excellency Peter Obi. And these are the things I conveyed in my letter to him to announce the fact I'm resigning. Um, Obviously, just like myself, there are rooms for improvement. I am not also going to tell you that everything has been perfect in the way leadership have been played. So there are rooms for improvement. And what I've seen is that whatever has happened to Labour is unfortunate because I don't see it as a vehicle. We can't have gone through all these governorship elections in the past and performed so badly and still thinking that continuing the same approach will give us victory. It doesn't make sense to me. And so, and it's not just about him. I'm just talking about the entire leadership. So we, both elected members and non-elected members, we need to be on the same, on a different direction. But I wasn't seeing it. And I don't have the time. If I have 3 more years before the election comes up, it's okay. Maybe we can fix it next year. The Anambra election is here. In fact, primary is next month. And we've not even held a meeting to think about how to fix what is going on. So I can't allow the hope of Anambra in the name of party issues. I have done my bit to try to contribute. I've called meetings. In fact, after the election in 2023, I was the person that called meeting. I brought His Excellency Peter Obi, senators, all of them came together. What do we need to do? But immediately after that meeting, some people felt, on what basis should Blah be candidated? Is he already the candidate? Why should anybody answer? And so, and that's how this going to the bush and them thinking my leg is like that of the bushmeat. But I need to make sure that is not the case. So that is, I mean, if you, we've agreed to hold conversation around my resignation. I don't know that conversation, but the truth is this: I don't have any issue personally with His Excellency Peter Obi. And then on, I think this is from um, GGM, yes, Best of Anambra, and maybe you forgot who you're asking this question, GGM. I'm a business professional who understands that the only way leaders actually shine is actually surround themselves with people who are better than them. But in politics, I don't know for what reason, leaders prefer to put people who are yes members, who are just anything they say, they jump at it. And so, if you even look around my team, people around me, you see that I don't compromise on quality. So, I will find the best of Ndi Anambra, even if they're in the moon, if they are local here, to make sure they contribute their best, their quota, because that's how we roll. If you're a private sector person, you hire people on competence, on character, on integrity, on delivery. And if they don't do well, you fire them. Performance driven environment. And that's why I emphasize on Kaizen. It's all about performance driven environment. In fact, I will so democratize performance environment that people who are guys will find Anambra uncomfortable. They will wake up or they will ship out themselves. Imagine I go to a school system, and I want to even introduce Best Teacher Award. I want the students to be able to anonymously vote in every school who is the best teacher, who is the worst teacher. Just the naming and shaming will make, if you're a worst teacher this year, you don't want to be the worst teacher next year because you know the consequence. Whatever you're doing, wake up. And so we have to run government as a business and actually get government out of business. So that answers your second question. What government is meant to do is to create the enabling environment, support private sector. And so if government must go into business, it must be a business that the private sector cannot do. And so you now think of, should government do it alone or do they do it in partnership with the private sector through a PPP model? And so this is the way to think about this. We want sustainability. A government person must know that even if you're a fantastic leader, that you may be succeeded by a person who is not as fantastic. So create the governance framework that will. That's why I love, for instance, what Goodluck Jonathan did with the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. When they wanted to start saving money, they created laws around these things to make it difficult for some person to just look into the reserves and plunder it anyhow. And so, even though some abuse may be happening there, but it's going to be minimized because of the governance framework. And that is something that we have learned from running corporations. And then finally, Mike, yes, it's worrisome. People have already seen that Solis is actually not interested in the insecurity. He is amassing youths he's going to use for the election. And what I am telling you is this: the antidote is for Ndi Anambra to wake up and show courage. So stand up for what is right. No docility. We have seen these things before. I can tell you that when we decide to take on a trajectory and we want to stand by it, everywhere would disappear. If you look at what happened in Kano, when the people of Kano stood their ground, everybody shaped off. That's what we need to do. How do we energize, particularly our youth demographics, to stand for what is right? To stand for what is right. Thank you.
All right, thank you
Right.
so much. Wayemi, go ahead.
The speaker is going to be Ike Bishop. After Ike Bishop, we will take Kenny 234, Alfonso, and Pericoma. In that order, please. Ike Bishop, please.
Okay, Your Excellency, you've spoken well. Um, it's time for the Anambra people to stand up and be counted. But my question is going to be more of direct. What do you plan for the youth? Because the youth are the most marginalized. And if you look at even the current governance in Anambra, you discover that the youth are not even carried along. I think it was even recently the governor wanted to start doing youth empowerment, which I see as a political activity. So, I mean, we've talked about insecurity, we've talked about good governance. What's it's your plan for the young people of Anambra, and what is your message to them to ginger them to come along in this journey?
All right. Thank you so much, Bishop. The next person, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Anambra Person, and thank you, Valentine, for coming to listen to us. In America, where I live, currently live, immediately after election of any immediately after any election, another election have already started. That's how I've known it since I've been here. It's 9 months to, I believe, 9 months to November election. I have not seen much movement on your side, and we are talking about Soludo that is amassing the wealth of the state. We're talking about APC that is making, trying to put Anambra in play today. So my first question is, how do you plan to raise money and to face these two political heavyweight in terms of money, not because they have money, but the other one is coming from federal, the other one is coming from state. So my first question is, how do you plan to fight these two powers that is coming to force? And the last question is about tertiary institution. I've spoken about it on space a lot, because I've watched what China did with tertiary institution. That is education that belongs to yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Even more than the kind of the regular education that we have today. So, what is your plan on tertiary education in Anambra State? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I'm the person, right? Good afternoon, good evening, Dr. Val, His Excellency, Anambra Person. Good evening. Wayne, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yeah. Let me try and be as brief as I can be. Yeah, Val, I remember telling you in the last space with Kunie Media that I will actually support you, but at this point, I'm very much in doubt. But for two obvious reasons. And looking at your chances, I don't know. I don't know on what ground, and I don't know how I'm seeing it. Secondly, um, please, I really want us to know because what platform are you going to use to run in the next election? Because I really don't want it to be something, and I would prefer you give us direct answer because it will help shaping some people's decision. All the rumors everywhere. Are you going to PDP or the other people said it's APC or a new platform entirely? So that those of us who have decided to support you will know what to do. Thank you.
All right, Pericoma, go ahead.
Ndubanya Kanemo, no. Val, we've heard all you said, and we are grateful for this platform. 2023, you were visibly present in the presidential election, and many of us believe that the votes weren't counted. Now, this is an election that is coming up. We need to know clear plans of how you're going to make our votes count. Makana, ọkwa gị na-ekpere mana emekọ ihe, asị kwuo eziokwu. Nwoke clear 21 out of 21 local government election. It is it is not an easy feat. He cleared 21 out of 21 local government election, and we know what his plans are. So you've mentioned that it's not security outfits that he's recruiting. That is more of talks for the elections, which is personally what I believe, because you don't come in the year of election to start making all these drastic changes and think that people are not seeing what you're doing. So what are the plans for you to ensure that our votes are counted? Because the ideas are good, but then we need to get there first. And then the second part is Biko
Hello.
um Amaram APC. I'm hearing rumors about APC. Onye si Biko Amaram ka m esi Gwanem Yatunyele APC. Amarokwam Kamisikon. And you're saying we should come out like we need to take charge and defend our votes. Omoya Putanobalo APC or okay, defend their votes. When you check it why or no APC, because check it why I'll go call him no.
All right.
Val, good
Thank you
evening,
so much,
my
Pericoma.
brother. This is
All right, so this is how this space works. Unless you're spoken to, don't unmute your mic. Just because you're on the speaker section does not give you the right to unmute your mic and start speaking. When you get on the speaker section, I or Uche here will call for you. Then you unmute your mic and then you speak. Now, before I hand over the mic to Uche and Mr. Val, I will go through the comment section again to gather some questions. And this one says, I believe this question has been answered. This one has also been answered. So let me look for something new. So this person says 21 out of 21 will be repeated again. And this one says, we support our Ozigbo. It's not about party, it's about grabbing power. And this one says, let's be honest, our beloved St. Peter Obi failed. No. Okay, this one is more Peter Obi related. I don't think this is the best place to answer that question. Okay. Okay, these are more statements. And this one says, for all these lofty ideas and aspirations for Anambra to come to fruition, the election must be won by November 8th. How will that be done given the last experience? Okay.
Another one says Val confirmed talks on coalition last month on Arise TV. Is it going to the party that would be the umbrella of the coalition? That's the question from Ike. And this one said, what are your plans for the economy across various top sectors you have identified that would bring change? And what would be the outcome of that change? I think that question has been answered. And this one said, election will be driven more by who the candidates are, but the party will control lots of what will happen after the election. We know that that APC very well. No good comes out of it. All right, this is coming from Royal Inc., who happens to be on this space on the speaker section. So I will give you opportunity to speak right now, so we can go to Val immediately. Do you have anything to say, Wayne?
I do have a question,
All right.
but I'll just throw this out there. My question to Mr. Val is, going by how the people of Anambra feel, one of the things that I have seen come up a lot of time is um Soludo is he's from the private sector, and there is this problem with private sector slash technocrat not being able to handle politics slash governance to a large extent. And to be fair, you are equally from the private sector. Soludo has financial pedigree, so do you. There are quite a lot of professional similarities. Going by that, from the people who have this mindset that the private sector has no business in governance politics because they come in and they don't necessarily make the smartest and the best decisions. How do you plan to maneuver, navigate, and change your mind? What makes you so different from Soludo and the like? Thank you. All right, the show can continue. Uche, over to you, please.
All right.
No,
Yeah, let's
uh,
have Royal Link.
I think I should respond. There are
Yes,
several.
let's
It's
have Royal
almost
Inc.
15 now, so I may forget some of these.
Okay,
Exactly. In fact,
no
let me
problem.
start off with Wemi's. Let me start off with Wemi because It's actually a surprise. If people hold that view, that must be minority view. Because the general view is that is the private sector has always done well everywhere in governance. It's actually people who think business-like manner, who have understood the value for money, who have sweated, employed people, managed resources, created environment of you know law and order, corporate governance, and shown accountability. Know that there is somebody else that they report to, that they must tender, and that is what has been missing in politics. That's why we've been failing. Why do you think Governor Mba is seems to be doing well? Why do you think Governor Oti are doing well? And that's where I belong. I don't want to say I could even be better, but that's where I belong. Soludo is not a private sector person. What are you talking about? Since when? From classroom to serving government? Which private sector? Which company has he managed? Mention one. Mention one. Since CBN governor, that's advising government. They never render account. If Soludo's tenure in CBN is investigated, he won't be moving around. With due respect, the entire thing that happened that even led to formation of AMCON is a result of what Soludo did in CBN. Within few, and it's very good at announcing this, this type of not thought through vision, grandeur vision. This is what I want to see. You know how he speaks. I was a banker when he was a central bank governor. If you can raise your capital to 25 billion, we're going to allow you to manage Nigerian reserve. What happened? Banks started killing themselves and doing some shady things to enhance their reserve. Some would give a loan facility to a friend so they can use the products of that facility, the proceed, to buy the shares in the name of, oh, my shares are 10 naira. When it moves to 20 naira, you can now sell and make a lot of money. And the greed came in there. What was central bank meant to do? They were meant to be a regulator, to do capital verification and check the source of those capital. But once you sort them out, they will sign your certificate. Oh, this bank has crossed to they'll celebrate. How did they cross? It was a failure of banking regulation. So the moment the share price started moving from 10 naira, not to 20 naira, now to 5 naira, they saw bad debts in their eye, in their face. That's how Ancon now runs it to trillions upon trillions. We don't even know what to do with Ancon anymore. It was Soludo's Ancon. And this is the person you're comparing with me. Please cut me some slack. Let's go to the next question. Um, let's go back to what EK Bishop asked about my plan for the youth. I honestly, I've always been tagged the king of the youths for different reasons. I've done a lot of things in my private capacity that demonstrates my recognition of the potency of getting things in order for our youths. What is about the mentorship we provide, the lessons we share, the funding we provide to empower them, the way we manage their talents and creativity and the things I do in that regard, whether it's acting, singing, and me invested in the entertainment industry, or my adventure into sports, becoming the biggest promoter of freestyle football in Africa, or even in the church, leading the unusual praise and stuff like that. So I've always done things that set me, apart and endear me to the Nigerian youth. And or even in technology, where I have partnered with Decagon to train youth in software engineering and providing scholarship to certain youths. But as a governor, I'll be more deliberate because I know they are the most important demographic. It's their future that we're toiling with now. We've been wasting. And guess what? They actually, if we're able to channel them properly, they can actually live better because the world of tomorrow is their world. I actually want them to take our society to higher ground where even the elders will find no bearing. When I was addressing some youths on one of the FM stations in Obosi, I said to them that when an eagle and the snake are fighting, you know what eagle? If he captures the snake, takes it so high that the snake will lose balance. I love how elders can't even operate their phone. How much you understand what artificial intelligence is? Let's take our society to that level where the youth will now dominate. We can't be begging for youth to be brought to the table when they can actually own the table and decide who else they want to admit. And that takes me to why the youth need to wake up and understand the power. What happens in 2020 with NSAS is a big lesson. What happened in 2023 election is a bigger lesson. Let's even take that lesson to the biggest level, where the youth can now actually coordinate themselves, no violence in a methodical manner, and stand up for what is right. In politics, I gave an example what I've been involved in the past that the youth can copy. In my ward, usually when an election is taking place, we gather ourselves, we engage the electoral officers, we speak to them, we make it clear to them. In this community, we must do right. Don't worry, we're going to take care of you. Is it money? Is it the food? We will entertain you. We'll be fine. But there's only one condition. You must do things right. Guess what? If you don't do it right, we're not going to let you here. Go here. We won't. And we'll tell them we'll block the entire. Just do what is right. It's not kidnapping people for wrong reasons. You must insist that they do what is right, or you're not living here. And when they see you're serious, do you know what they will do? They will do what is right. That's what the youth need. They need to wake up and stop complaining and faffing around. No, let's stand up for what is. And we will go into deep to explain this further. This is not a forum to, I'm not launching the movement here. We'll do it properly so you understand that the power rests with the youth. When it's done, it's your future, it's your destiny, it's your government. You'll be well represented. I would love to have 60% of the youth in my government. Yes. But I know elders here may be upset, but I don't care. They are more important. They are bigger stakeholder. If a man is 80 years and will die in 85, it's only a 5-year stakeholder. If a young man is 23 and he's going to die at 85, he has tens of years to live. And so he's a bigger stakeholder. So we must prioritize the youth. That's what I'll say about that. Now let's go to point made about facing Soludo
No,
and
no, what
Sema.
you
Hello?
That's not a boy boneke.
Please go ahead.
Yes, hello. Okay. I was already talking. I didn't know I was muted. So, I mean, this interjection is very interesting because, again, it just demonstrates the kind of society we live in. And I care about it. So, we just live in fear. About it is at the center of Anambra. It's not a border community. It's not where they can just hide and disappear. This is so. These guys are so emboldened because there's no check. They don't they, because we're not serious. We allowed Alo Obafo things we're doing now. We actually should be doing better. And things we ought to have been doing 6 months into office. Why did we wait until these guys became landlords in Anambra? What were we thinking of? Anyway, so the next question is on, you know, how we're going to face Soludo. And a lot of people say this that um, I haven't done enough to show um, opposition. Sometimes they say this out of genuine concern, but sometimes also say it out of ignorance. I say this because they assume sometimes I've become a candidate of a party. Everybody was expecting that it's a no-brainer, Val is already a candidate. But I wasn't, and I am not. And guess what? I was doing things I ought to be doing. Nobody has spoken against Soludo in Anambra more than myself. I've done videos, I've gone to interviews, and I'm not doing it because of personal issue or because of politics. Because I believe we must hold governance accountable. Was to allow him the first 2 years. I made it clear. I don't want this man to think what he wants to do. First 2 years. Let him have honeymoon. Then I took time to analyze everything he has done on the economy, on security, on agriculture, on roads, and how he has failed. How he has failed. I even put out there how much money that has come into the coffers and why he couldn't show the use of these resources. If you still want to know what I've done in the past, please go to my YouTube channel and you have a field there. And so we have done a couple of things, but also I realized I know what I'm talking about. We didn't do enough. I haven't done enough. I ought, for instance, I ought to have embarked on a lot of grassroots mobilization, local government tours. But that was when I assumed we had a party to even run an election with. Until different things started happening. We went to Nnewi to conduct a very flawed national convention. That was ridiculous. Next thing we went to Anambra to conduct another, uh, I don't know how to describe it, we call it state congress, and destroyed what was remaining of Labour Party in Anambra State. And then activities, and instead of us to channel resources and energy and attention to those grads, we started fighting the battle of our lifetime. How do we even save the party? What do we do? It gets to a point. There's nothing I can do about this party. And the people who are actually mentioning, should it be this party or that party, have not even answered the question. Please, when you come to tell me it shouldn't be this party, tell me the party should be. I'm begging you, tell me. Because sometimes they even forget that the thing that we're running away from in a particular party, BAB is living it as landlord in our own party. So where do we go? This is not a sentimental thing. We're going to take a decision purely based on objectivity, based on the interest of Ndi Anambra. And my dear friends here, I won't take a frivolous decision about party. I will take it in an informed, carefully thought through, And in fact, let me even add this: prayerfully arrived at. I am. I know. I know what this time means for the Anambra. And then that brings me to the gentleman that says he's not sure he's going to support me because he doesn't know my chances. And that has been the biggest problem we face in this country. People vote for people they think can win. Even if they're criminals, they go for people they think they can win. In a way, we make ourselves too transactional. And that's why I feel we shouldn't continue this trajectory. When you see a better candidate, please go for that candidate. Stop waiting until you're sure that person can win. And this is why good candidates never emerge. Imagine if I haven't mastered certain resources, there won't be a Valentine Ozigbo today because nobody comes to your aid. Nobody donates a penny until get you've gotten the ticket. You're very close to winning, and then they start looking for you with resources. But they knew from day one, oh, and that's the thing that saddens me the most. Val is the best candidate, but he doesn't have money. I hear that a lot. Guess what? It's not that I don't have money to run around and do what I need to do, but the money to match and go. Preparing governance for only thieves and criminals. If I don't have money, add your own money so that I can have money. That's the simple answer to it. And that brings me to, therefore, we've been trying to build. That's why we partner with Niger We Can to see how we can leverage crowdfunding. How do we get our people to donate just $10, $20 across? If you get 300,000 people in the diaspora, we have over 2 million people. If you get just 10%, 15, 20% of them, so then 10, 15, $20. Run the numbers. It's enough to run an election. But we don't, we are ready, willing to for the sacrifice. We see me as the imminent governor of Anambra State, then you can come on board. So it's okay, it's welcome. If you don't come in the morning, come in the afternoon, but don't wait for a good night before you come. And then that takes me to um, votes don't count, and then Soludo is an Ekberima. Well, and so we need to prepare. I think I've responded to this. There are things we intend to do to protect our votes. I'm not going to say them here, but what I simply need our people is to stand up for what is right. We should leave the rest. If we do it well, there's nothing they can do about it. What you find out is that once you don't get your technical solution right and you miss it at the base, it gets difficult to protect the vote. And we are going to learn our lessons from what happened in the years that have gone by. Um, then on tertiary institution, obviously is an important aspect of education. And there, we must have the diversity. We must have professional research institutions. We must also have those that are focusing on vocational education. We can evolve. What I believe sincerely is evolution, culture of continuous improvement. Keep making methodical and daily progressive improvements. You see things evolve. And then learn from those who have done it well and leverage and move on. And particularly focusing on the areas that are important to us. If I think that we should focus on manufacturing vehicles or tech hub, I want us to tweak our curriculum. There's something I tell people. I intend to pursue triple agenda when it comes to education. One is to make education affordable so that as many people can get on board. Second is to create the right quality. Quality not just of the infrastructure, but the quality of teaching. How do we make sure that what people are being taught are comparable to what you can get elsewhere? How do we make sure that the teachers are being monitored so that they keep evolving over time? And how do we make sure we use performance-driven environment to drive output that we're seeking for? And then the last part is about relevance. How do we make sure what they are being taught is relevant? It's important that we are methodical about it. If we want, if we feel that our biggest needs are the artisans of this world, let's do something about it. If we think we want to make Anambra a tech hub, then go to even the primary school and change and tweak the curriculum so that what is coming out will be relevant to what we need. So if you're able to marry this triple agenda of affordability, of quality and relevance, you get it right, whether it's the primary education or tertiary. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So we are going to be taking next round of questions. Please be brief and straight to the question. No praises, no accolades. Just go straight to the question. Once you take the mic, you start asking your question. So let's start with Royal Inc. Once you drop your question, then we go to Official Ikenga. Then after that, we go to Hillary, then Uche Okoli, and of course, Obiasogu David. So let's go this way. Royal Inc., let's have your question ASAP.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Straight to my question. Mr. Val, my question goes thus. Anambra State being one of the most generating states in terms of revenue, I want to know, how do you intend to collect revenue? How do you intend to collect these funds without using what we used to know, Aboro? How do you intend to collect the revenue that flows within Anambra State markets from Ochanja to Oborgo to the Express? How do you intend to do this? What tool would you use without using this Aboro that brings scare and fear? When someone mentions Oborgo, someone mentions main market, there is this fear of Ndi Aboro.
All right.
MCC, Ndi Aboro, yeah, that's the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So let's go to Official Ikenga. Your question, please. Hello, Official Ikenga. Are you there? All right. If you are not here, let's.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
All right. Go straight to your question,
Can
please.
you
I
hear?
hear you. Yes, very loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. And His Excellency Val Ozigbo, thank you for coming. My question to you is, you championed the outcry about insecurity in Anambra State. I'm kind of taking you back. I'm sorry for that, but this question is very important to me. Today, the governor of Anambra State, His Excellency Professor Chukwuma Soludo, is providing enough security. What kind of security are you going to provide that would be more effective other than replicating what Soludo has done? That's my question.
All right. Thank you so much for that question. Let's go to the next person, please. The next speaker, please.
Thank you. Dr. Valentine. Uh, I think the question I want to ask is this: let's say by God's willingness, by God's grace, I do believe in your visions. You get to become the governor of Anambra State. There is one thing that has been very prevalent in Nigeria, and that is the fact that we have a big man as the governor. You know, we have a man who all the power runs around, and we have institutions that are very weak. You know, if that not sort of leave government to be at the discretion of somebody, which puts government to be at the discretion of just an individual, If the individual is good, then the government is good. If the individual is not good, giving us very weak institutions. Please, if you succeed and you become the governor of Anambra State, what exactly are you going to put in place to ensure that our government can run on processes and not on individual instincts or discretion? You know, there are a lot of things that Governor Peter B did when he was in power. Some of those things we are not, oh, thank you. We are
All
not
right.
able to carry them on
All right.
for the sake that,
Thank you so much.
all right,
I think he got that question, so we can accommodate more people. Thank you, Hillary.
all right, okay, thank you,
So
Jay.
let's move to the next person, please. That
All right, Usha, good evening, and good evening, Mr. Val. So I want to ask, on the 8th of February, Ganduje said that APC was going to wrestle power from APGA in Anambra State. And judging by the fact that Anambra people are disenchanted with Professor Toludo, and based on the fact that having APC and APGA ruling Anambra State would be more like having the devil and the deep blue sea. I want to understand what you think about the statement that Mr. Ganduje made.
all right. Thank you so much. So we go straight to Uche Okoli. Uche Okoli, can you hear me? Hello, Uche Okoli. Are you there? Uche
Hello, can you hear me now?
Okoli. Yes, I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me
Ask your
now?
question
All
immediately.
right. Yeah, my brother Ezego, nice to have you here. Um, some of us who know you closely were not in doubt as to what you can do or how you can effectively run the affairs of the states. My question is simple, and I'm sure you know where I'm coming from. We know what happened the last time. What are we going to do differently this time to make November 8th a reality? That for me is germane. Again, I'm not in doubt as to your capacity, as to your commitment to the ideals you've been talking about. We no election, Anambra we chawapo. K5 yeme we no election. Dalo them.
All right. Do I, Jack? Do you have a question to add so that we can, go straight to Mr. Val? Jack.
Yeah, Uche, thank you very much. Once again, Mr. Val, well done. I mean, we spent a couple of hours here already. The final question I want to ask you, sir, would be on issue of so on daily basis, right? There's so much reports around Anambra, particularly around extortion of young people by security operatives, both AVG, army, police, and everything. I've personally been harassed a couple of times. Nanang Kabenam, in Sofia and everything. And it makes, we feel somehow as a young person coming into Anambra because of this particular thing, right? It is not, I mean, Munga Bagomoto, for example, from Nnewi and going to Ekulobia, if you know the amount of extortion that happens on that route on a daily basis, it is unimaginable. Security operatives particularly want to come to Anambra because it's a free for all. Everybody is extorting everywhere. And I'm not saying some places, I'm talking about everywhere. Onitsha or Oka or everywhere. I am interested in knowing how you're going to resolve that problem because I consider it a huge challenge in Anambra at the moment. Thank you.
All right. All right. So, Mr. Val, please.
All right, thank you so much. Royal, somebody, how do we collect revenue without the Akodo style and Aboro style? I think um, this is a very, very interesting question because there's always this conflict between the need to collect a lot of money, enough, and then the need to ensure enforcement. I honestly believe that the best tool to achieve this is technology. And that is what is going on in other civilized society. Technology. And there are ways you can make people deny people of certain services until they show evidence of how they have paid their taxes and all that. And if I have to collect less in Anambra to achieve a better, sane, law and order environment, I will do so. I will not employ arboros unless I am one, and I'm not. So since you can see arboros working here, you can tell the type of governor we have today. Uh, Ikenga is obviously speaking for the governor. That's why he used the word providing enough security. Am I allowed to say I'm disappointed? Because how can you say enough security? It's not about motion, it's motion without movement. What have we actually done? 3 days ago, a reverend father was kidnapped. 2 days ago, somebody kidnapped around Opono in Oka. Okay, what was this? Where is safe? Let the governor move around Anambra without convoy, without policemen. If you can do that, then I can agree with you, Ikenga. Please, let's be honest. I beg you. So you also don't become the victim. I'm begging you. Be sincere. This governor has failed when it comes to insecurity. What I will do differently is I'm first of all going to be, I'm a different human being. I value human life. I won't lie before I wake up. That's enough difference. And when people die and become victim, I will show empathy. I will visit them. You can't have Igwe Lilu's house burnt, no visit. Igwe Seke's house burnt, no visit. People die, no visit. I was even told that the people that were traveling to his daughter's wedding that got kidnapped, his commission has contributed 400,000 naira each to rescue the man. He hasn't refunded them the money. Show empathy, sympathy. And AIG came to Anambra State and spent 3 months without seeing the governor. First 3 months. He never considered security important. It's just because the election is closed, he wants to come back. And maybe you're in the campaign council. That's why you're promoting him here. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. It's not enough security. Where's our control room? Take me to where we can monitor what's happening. Where is the equipment to engage? There's nothing happening yet. Nobody can move around and sleep with one eye or both eyes closed. Please, we need to do more. We honestly need to do more. And I see far better than I've seen here, by far. I go to the next question. Yes, a gentleman spoke on poor institutions. A lot of times we just achieve certain milestones by accident. A governor comes, he does well in 1 or 2 places and 3 places. And once he goes, anything can happen to those places and those areas because there are no strong institutions to protect. And I love what he said about process. And I'm happy for him to ask this question. He must also know the meaning of the Kaizen. Kaizen is about improvement in processes so we can cut waste and make it part and parcel. If we even just focus on Anambra civil service and cut the waste in the processes, you will raise the efficiency level. And that eventually that becomes the DNA because we then codify that. And then when we need to pass certain legislation, it becomes law, it becomes our way of life, it becomes our DNA, it becomes our culture. Once you do that, then you're building to last. The only way to build to last is through governance framework and processes. Once you have the right tools like this, I can spend time and telling you I'm a global Kaizen champion. I'm not telling you what I haven't practiced. This is how I turned around Transcorp Hilton to become the best business hotel in Africa. This is how I won the CEO of the Year in the world in Spain and in Greece because I've done things like this. And I'll bring it to bear in Anambra. And you'll be shocked. Why would I not sign CFO in 1 week? Why should I wait for 2 years? If you enhance the processes, the system will function. People will see Anambra Chawapo. Let me not go further. Now on the statement of Ganduje, APC or APGA taking, let me tell you what God has said. That's more important to me. That Val Ozigbo will take over Anambra in 2025. That's what I'm more interested in. I haven't spoken to Ganduje, so I don't know what he meant. Uche Okoli, thank you about what we're doing, what we're going to do differently. Plenty things, including the kind of people I'm working with. You know, Uche, we work with a lot of traitors. And some of them are rejoicing in Salute administration because they betrayed us. So they were planted and were paid for. So now, when you come kita in them again, it's and 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 we now tell our people, um, if you come with good heart, blessing will follow you. And you come with bad intention, curse will follow you. And it's not a joke. So that because this is about life and death, we're here to solve a number of problems. And so if you are able impediment to solving a labor problem, of course, a labor is jidegi. So because if you're a traitor, don't come near me because we mean business this time. We're not going to. Good news is that Worku, boss in Kaga saying now, Onya Sigiti, Onya Sigiti, Onya. Again, you talk for we're going to look well and carefully, do proper due diligence and do the right things. And we're going to deploy tools. We've learned a lot of things in 2023 elections. There's a lot we can do, and there's a lot we're already doing. But I'm not going to come to a Twitter space and start telling you I'm going to protect my vote. Then I'm not serious. So my qualification is when we speak in camera, I will tell you more. Be rest assured, we're going to win the election. And finally, on extortion, Jack, um, you see, again, if you're really a serious-minded governor, let me tell you, all these things people usually will tell you, oh, state police is not within the remit of governor. It's not true. It's not true. If you engage this leadership from army and you read right acts, you tell them the do's and don'ts in Anambra State. You let them know why you need a law and order society. And you also support them so they can listen to you. If you support them, I'm not saying you should waste money on them. Do things to make them motivated. You can't have all these people driving vehicles that are rickety, that are breaking down. Or guess what? Not even food, not even catered for. No tools, nothing. Deploy, that's why there's a security vote. Use it effectively. Don't steal it. If you it's when you have abandoned your role and job, you don't have the ability to even speak to them and say, stop this. I want a decent society in Anambra. I want a law and order. And I will engage if I think this commissioner of police or whatever is not going to give me what I'm looking for. I'll go above him and remove him and bring the one that will do what I'm looking for. The same way, even in civil service, we can get people out of their job until we get the right people to do the job. So I think that's all the question I've seen. Thank you.
All right. So we'll take the uh, final group of questions from the speaker. So we start from Chief Martin Melo to Sweet Angel to Goswill Wanko, and of course Ambassador Israel, Engineer Okwi, Sentunwara, Uche Umes, and Okay Okata. So please, guys, you are going to be very brief and straight to the question, so that we can wrap up for today's edition. So, Martin ML, you have
All
the
right.
floor.
Uche, thank you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Val, for joining us. I joined late, so I don't know the things you've touched. But I listened to you on a couple of questions people have already thrown at you, so I don't think I will have to go back to them. Let me talk to one that is more important to me. It's about business for SMEs, small, medium enterprises, and the fact that there are also people in diaspora that are interested in, coming back home to invest heavily. What is in the pipeline from your team to coordinate this? Because without it, we see a lot of our young girls, a lot of our young boys coming out of school, not getting any job. Obviously, there's nobody to invest because of insecurity. So, of course, we will tie everything to insecurity, but to make sure you have that, you attract, our people back to Anambra State, both those in other states and those especially in diaspora that really want to come back. So, what is in the pipeline to have, a kind of an integrated system whereby we have a system that will accommodate these people and tell them we have a seamless method that can integrate them into the state to invest. That's where, let me just leave it at that. I have more things to say, but let me just stick to this one for now. Thank you.
All right. Next person, Sweet Angel.
Yeah, thank you, Uche. Thank you, Mr. Val, for joining us. I was in the southeast in Anambra precisely last year, and the amount of guns I saw on the road, like every time every kilometer you go in Anambra State, they have people of muftis, some kind of raggedy-looking clothes, carrying guns tied with the red stuff. Mr. Val, please, when you get into our government, as the governor of Anambra State, how are you going to check back all these people with guns? Who do will they report to? How will you check on them to see at what spot they are operating in or guiding? And when they have to submit their guns, and whatever you're going to do to make sure that our guns, the guns in Anambra State, are in the right hands of the people actually doing their jobs. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. God's will.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Valentine Ozigbo. Alibu must be great. It's there with Abia State, and the next bus stop is going to be Anambra State. You will be the next governor of Anambra State. What do we need to do? Where we need to send the money? I want to send. I'm based in Houston, Texas. I'm from Abia State, but I have a vested interest in the success for Alibu. How am I going to make the donation right now? I'm going to start with $100 right now, but I would scale it up in the coming weeks because I need you to be the governor of Abia State. Anambra State, because we need Alibu to be transformed today, not tomorrow. So that's just what I want to ask. Where do we need to send the money to? Thank you.
All right. So to the next person, Ambassador Israel.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, my question is simple, based on critics, and I want to just get your take on those that describe that you are a career politician and what makes you think you are the right person, for the job?
All right. All right. Thank you. So we go to Uche Umezulora.
Yeah,
Uche.
yeah. Thank you, Anambra First Son, and thank you, Mr. Ozigbo. Okay, as I go, I have an issue with the present security in Anambra State. I've watched some videos on social media, and I see how where guns are being recovered. So, and I have a problem with all these guns that are in these guys' hands. If you're the governor, come now. How do you retrieve these guns that these Agone Chamber guys has, the one they've retrieved, so it doesn't become a problem going forward in Anambra? Thank
Hello, Uche. Are we still there?
you. Yeah, hello.
So sorry. I was speaking
Did
without
you hear?
knowing that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right.
Yes.
So let's go to the next person, Engineer Okwi Dixon. After that, then Sentumora.
Okay, thank you, Uche, and thank you, Mr. Valentine, for making yourself available for us to have this conversation. Direct to the point, I like the fact that you were able to identify Soludo's big flaws. He's very arrogant, he lacks empathy. I mean, I know his days. I'm from Aguata, so I know his days in CBN and what he never did to improve anybody's life from Aguata and everything. In fact, he actually tarred the road from the junction of one market just straight to his house, and that was where the whole project stopped. So I understand the kind of man you're dealing with. But my point now is just point us to the direction. How do we take power from this man? Because this guy is desperate, he's arrogant, he's wicked, he's crude. All this charade of insecurity, whatever he's doing, is just for the campaign, like you identified appropriately. Like, it's nothing about the state. It's all about embezzling money. I don't even know what he does with this money. This guy was a CBN governor. I don't even want to talk about his days there. It's all about money for him. Contract, contract, contract. So point me to the direction. What the team, Uche, what's the team? What's everything about? How do you get this man out first before hours or two away one? That's just my belief. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Engineer Okwi. Let's go to Okay Okata. But,
Yeah, good evening,
yes.
everyone.
After that, then
Anambra First Son,
Sentumora.
thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, Val, good evening. So the point here is most people are asking post-election questions. That's not the issue. My advice here, Val, we've worked a couple of times, in the past, and I'm still here to work with you. Can you please get an APC ticket? Because that's the only ticket that can win Soludo in Anambra State. And we're not bothered about your person. I know you. Peter Mba of Enugu State, if you get into office, can you do better than him? Because he's the one that's putting the Eastern Heartland on the roadmap to development. I'm not even using Alex Oti. If you can do more than what Peter is doing in Enugu State, in Anambra, then the Eastern Heartland is open. Now, the best bet to getting that ticket, if APC can give you the ticket, because we don't run political parties of ideology in Nigeria, is a vehicle to getting power. So how do we help you get an APC ticket? Then subsequently, how do we mobilize you to have funds for your campaign and win the election? We shouldn't be asking questions about security, this one, post-election questions. No, Val, you have my number. I'm in Texas, I'm in Lagos. How do we mobilize with you and get Soludo out of the seat? That's the question we should be talking about here, not all these things we're talking about. Thank you.
All right. All right. So let's go to Sentumora.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would just like to go straight to the point. So, Val, you agree with me that everything you said here is not new to us. We've heard it before. So, I mean, I'm not really carried away. I'm used to politicians. Soludo said, "Had sweeter mouths than you do today." So it's not that. So, what I want to. Sorry, who is that? So what I want to ask is, in terms of industrializing Anambra State used to be one of the top five most industrialized location in Nigeria, ahead of Oyo State. Today, I don't even know where we are because a lot of industries are shutting down, and like there's no government concern around it. Because when we want to talk about employment, we have to first create the job before you can employ people. And these industries, whether small scale, large scale industries, they are the ones that will employ the people. So how do you go about bringing creating an enabling environment for people in Anambra, which we know they have the money to bring back that money and build industries here? Please don't tell me you are going to go and bring people. Soludo has said it. We head of African Taiwan, Dubai. We know where we are. Let's know what is practical, what can be done with the people we have
All
before we
right.
start looking for Taiwan, Dubai. Thank you.
All right. So we go over to Enugu indigenous community. Enugu. Uh,
All right, thank you very much, Uche. Good evening, Honorable Ozigbo. My question is as regards to economic integration and cooperation in Southeast. Please, sir, do you have any workable plan to ensure that you connect, other Southeast governors to work on a plan to connect a rail line from Anambra to Enugu to Ebonyi to connect to Imo and other states, and to also ensure that you work with federal government to open southeast to through rail line to the northeast. Then my second question is regarding cultism at UNIZIC. Please, sir, do you have any plans or laws to put in place to make sure that if you become the governor, you will curb, incidents or
all right.
occurrence of court-related activities around that place? Last question, please, is on humanitarian intervention strategies. Please, do you have any plans to develop humanitarian intervention strategy? Because what we have witnessed, in Iyalags is cause for a holistic humanitarian intervention strategy going forward. Thank you very much.
All right. So let's go to Adora. Honorable Adora, you have the floor.
Anambra first son, thank you very much. Uncle Val, good morning, sir. Beacon, I'm with you, and I would really like for us to. I want to come see who to quiet to see na ada kukwaya again. Otu nsu ekwubie na nke ndị ọzọ before. Okwefu ihe Anambra state elections a na-abịa. Ihe APC sekwa APC asịrọ. If a very delicate topic. And don't work yes we poach or pitch ndị Anambra State APC. Biko ọbụrụ ya ya eme with biko go and get APC ticket biko ka ebido ozugbo. Anyị esikwa otu a wee si ya. Ọkwefu okwu APC especially na Anambra State. Anyị esikwa otu a wee si ya unu mana ndị be anyị dị highly stubborn. Email here no nke you need to get it now and just get to the program. Ọwụ anyị ncha niile na anyị ncha kwa Soludo enwe straight up easy ticket to round 2. Biko kwan ihe nkwu na the nke ndị Edo steeti nke ndị Imo steeti every time na-ekwu the same thing kịta elutego nke Anambra steeti biko ịpụtara nnọọ egwu anyị okwu APC sikwa APC asịrọ welu nya kwue with understanding the nuances where tinye some ihe na to your voice wee na-epich ya biko understand that ịba ego terrain dị nya bụ make or break ama m ịbata njin asụ ya n'Igbo election Anambra State are the stakes the too high and I'm also weighing every option possible. But ọ bụrụkwa ka abịa mee ya nke it's APC ka onye ọzọ emerụ gị ya biko kwano that will be the beginning of our failure. Thank you, Anambra State. Anambra person. Wait, me afọ ọzọ gị. Good morning, my dear.
Hmm. Hello, Uche, can I go on now?
Yes, sir. Dịka Uche na young one.
Hello?
Uncle Val, you can go on. Yes.
Okay,
I
Uche, I'm
leave
going,
it to
I'm
you.
going. Yeah, let me go ahead. Uche, by the way, I thought we reached a deal that is for 2 hours. Now you want to keep me here for 3 hours. Okay. What's the first? There are plenty questions now that I'm even. Okay, I think it's really okay. Watching Melo spoke on the SME, and that's actually a very fantastic question. because it's actually the game changer. A lot of people usually talk about, oh, job, 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 as though it's government that's going to employ. No, government doesn't. Whatever they can do is a trickle to what the SMEs can do. And most times we just keep dealing with symptoms and without going to the root cause. What does it actually mean for us to curb unemployment? Who is going to employ? It must be somebody and some people who are doing businesses, doing different things, activities that are sustainable. And they have to do it in a competitive manner. And the competition is not just about the next door neighbor, it's also global. If you manufacture something locally and somebody imports the same thing cheaper, you're gone, you're dead.